And welcome to Interesting to See, your daily sports podcast about news, narratives, takes, and gambling. Norway's Karsten Warholm sets the world record in the men's 400 meters. You can see it right there if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram. Welcome to the show for Tuesday. The person who took third and won bronze in that race from the United States, or from Brazil, pardon me, also broke the world record. So that race was absolutely obliterated. Pretty cool accomplishment for the Norwegian. Coming up on the show today, we will talk about a couple NBA signings. I don't really care that much, but we want to stay up to date. We're going to talk about some gender stuff in the Olympics. The Wall Street Journal is reporting some interesting stuff. But we're going to start today with the Buffalo Bills. Just want to get this out of the way because this is going to be a whole thing. They want a new stadium, which is good because their stadium is trash. And they are suggesting to the people of Buffalo in the government of the state of New York, so that's not Manhattan, even though technically it does count or whatever. They want the city of Buffalo or whatever county that's in to pay for, get this, 100% of the $1.5 billion stadium. The renovations will also cover the Buffalo Sabres, who are owned by the same people who own the Bills, which was not something that was legal per NFL guidelines until a couple of years ago. You could only own one team in a market back in the day. That's why you get guys like the Seahawks owner, Paul Allen, the Microsoft guy. He owns the Seahawks, but he owns the Portland Trail Blazers because you can only own one thing until a couple of years ago. So now the Pagulas, they want to make the people of Buffalo pay for the whole thing, which is ironic because I genuinely don't know how I feel about this. They are threatening low-key, so not publicly, but like hint, hint, that other people want a team and they have already found a new girlfriend. If they get a divorce from the city of Buffalo, that new girlfriend will be Austin. Puke. God. If the Bills leave Buffalo, that'll be a massive, incredible failure. But there's nothing anybody can do about this. You either pay the money or you lose your team. That is what's going to happen. I think that the Buffalo is a small market. Austin is in Texas. It's a huge market, but what a weird situation. We'll keep an eye on it. Don't really care that much. It's just something to kind of pay attention to. Huge history made recently in the Olympics. Laurel Hubbard is transgender. She completed her transition 8 years ago, and she won gold. The most fascinating thing about her Olympic gold medal is that despite competing on the in the women's circuit for years and years, this is one of her biggest accomplishments. She's 43, and that is old for powerlifting. Does not do a lot of interviews, but she spoke to a couple people yesterday, and she was basically like, this is dumb. I don't think that this should be a history-making deal, et cetera, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of debate going on about transgender inclusivity in athletics just based on natural genetics and biology and whatnot, and there's conversation. Scientifically, it's kind of fascinating if you're into biology and genetics. What to make of surgeries and pharmaceutical enhancements. There are cool videos of Ronda Rousey getting really into it if you're interested in that kind of thing. The debate is pretty intense. If you just cut out all of the societal part of the debate and just get into like the debate about what we are as humans and how different hormones and things work in our body, it can be kind of fascinating. Okay, so moving on to the world of college football. Big news. Kind of. I don't follow recruiting because I'm an adult and these are children, and that is just an unbelievable way. I cannot believe recruiting is followed so closely. People click on that. High school athletes having 30,000 followers on Twitter because they're getting recruited and people on Yahoo are publishing their stories just makes me kind of feel weird. But yesterday we had some big unprecedented news. This kid, Quinn Ewers, which is a dope quarterback name, is the number one quarterback and the number one prospect overall, regardless of position, for the next recruiting class. So he is a high school senior, I think, or going to be a high school senior. Quinn lives in Texas, and in Texas, the name, image, likeness law has not gone through for high school athletes, which is interesting because if he's 18 and he's a high school athlete, he's not allowed to profit off of his name, image, and likeness. And of course, this hasn't come up before because the NIL stuff has all been for college athletes who have established themselves. But he's in high school and he wants to make money. That's not legal in Texas. So his decision was, screw it, I'm not going to high school then. He has one class left in high school that he can take online, and he's moving to Ohio. He's going to The Ohio State University, puke again, the theme of this episode. And he's going to start making money. He's going to start working out for Ohio State, and then next year when he's a freshman, so I believe he will be able to be a freshman These athletes are so intense now. None of them graduate in June anymore. They all graduate in February so they can go to college right away, which is what's going to happen to him. I think if he could be in Texas where he could profit off of his name, image, and likeness, he probably would stay in Texas. My favorite, this is so great. After discussing it with my family, et cetera, this is not just a financial decision. It's about what's best for my football career. You know what's good for your football career? Fame and money. So this is going to keep happening. The name, image, likeness stuff is going to be really interesting because you better back it up, dude, because if that money gets to your head, all that's going to happen is people are going to be really mad at you when you make a ton of money and you suck. And I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but it is going to be the case. Tim Tebow was a trash NFL quarterback, and he would have been the richest college athlete of all time. Okay, NBA free agency. Kawhi Leonard remains unsigned. Chris Paul inks for 4 years to the Suns. 4 years, $120, $30 million for the Suns. That means it's worth up to $120. That means he's going to be able to get out of it in some way if he wants to. That is bananas. He's such an old man. He's going to play for the Suns when he's 40. I don't think so. 35-year-old Kyle Lowry from the Raptors to the Heat. Mike Conley stays in Utah, which is fascinating. They can never get people to go there or stay. John Collins and DeMar DeRozan remained unsigned. Lonzo Ball goes to the Bulls. Anything else? I'm scrolling through this. Tim Hardaway Jr. goes to Dallas. Kelly Olynyk to Detroit. Pretty close to Canada, where he's from. T.J. McConnell stays in Indianapolis. Yeah, nothing interesting on the NBA free agent market except for Lowry to the Heat is the big news. And I guess Lonzo Ball to the Bulls counts as something interesting too. I have a suggested long read for you today if you're subscribed to the Wall Street Journal. If not, I'll just do my best to summarize. We covered earlier how the Norwegian women's handball team, which is not an Olympic sport, beach handball team, didn't wear their bikini bottoms, and they were fined like $150 each, which, what the hell, are you kidding me, or whatever it ended up being. There are more female athlete protests happening. Specifically, the German gymnastics team, they wore full body leotards. Usually there's a bikini cut for the lower half of the leotard. They wore essentially these leotards that were full legs. That was a protest against sexuality. And the Wall Street Journal really dives deep into the history of this because this has been true since the 1900s. In fact, there's this really weird picture of a woman in the year 1900 in the 1900 Paris Olympics who won gold in tennis who's wearing essentially like a garden dress and a corset. So that is something that I've observed in the Olympics that can make you feel uncomfortable. It's really weird. There is this underlying, hey, look at our women, we're so proud of them, and then the other countries are like, hey, look at our women. It's very weird. I don't love it. But you can read about this. It is kind of interesting because as a sports purist, I want to believe very strongly, like, hey, it's part of the rules or whatever, but this just becoming very clear that no, it's not. It's just about presenting women's bodies to the planet, which is, disgusting. Okay, so let's move on to some positive news. Simone Biles competed in the Olympics yesterday. After her twisties, which rumor has it now that she has a prescription for an amphetamine for ADHD. Amphetamines are not, I believe, allowed in Japan, even if they're prescribed. She couldn't take it. ADHD would really help kind of explain what's been going on with her. But she felt good enough to compete. She won the bronze medal in the balance beam, which congratulations to her. And really forcing the issue and talking about mental health for all of us. And kind of big deal, 24-year-old wins a bronze medal. That doesn't seem to happen a lot either. And we're going to wrap up today with Rodeo Queen for super, super, super rich people. There is an Olympian who is a 29-year-old. She does equestrian jumping. She's the 14th ranked equestrian jumper in the world, which is crazy because the average age of the Olympians is 39. That's the average age of the top 15 riders is 39 years old. Equestrian jumping is a very difficult sport. It requires a lot of travel and upkeep and money. Well, this woman's father knows a lot about travel and upkeep for making your money. We, of course, are talking about New Jersey native Jessica Springsteen. That's right. Bruce's daughter is an Olympian. She's riding equestrian. And as I read about this, this is just rodeo for rich white people. It's just like horses who do stuff. You ride the horses. You travel all over the place. It's really hard. You never win. You make some money. Yeah, that's rodeo. I'm born and raised in Wyoming. That's called rodeo. All right, so I'm traveling for the next couple days, and as a result of that, the show might take on a little bit of a different sound in terms of quality. I'll do my best for you while I'm out there on the road. We're going to do some NFL previews. Going to talk about the NFL podcasts you should listen to if you're interested in killing a couple hours at work, the best ones and the worst ones. Follow the show, subscribe, rate, review, etc., etc. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back with you on Wednesday.